schedule. Those are the things that you kind of want to take a look at. Now, managing tasks are really important. There's views that I can share, and if you'd like to share your best practice in a second, Leonard, I appreciate your feedback. So if you click on Go to Pipeline, the Go to Pipeline button is going to be your best friend because you get this Kanban view in which you can see generally all of your steps for your pipeline, right? And you will be able to see the active jobs in a job card. So this is nice to view because you can see exactly what, as a visual, where they are. You can always click on tasks and see a list, right? If you click on all, I don't have any assigned to me, but if I click on all, these are all of the tasks that are currently active right now for me and, my team. So in this case here, you can manage tasks this way. And the way you could do that is like opening the task up and see what you need to do. This is one way, right? But the pipeline view, this Kanban view, is also another way because not only are you looking at a single task, if I click on the job here, you will see a list of tasks here that are going to be assigned. Right now it's a little bit blank because we're on stage number 1, but let's see if I can give you another example. Let's do this example here. So notice that we have chats grouped together, if any, proposals, engagement letters grouped together, if any, and then our tasks. This is a great way to manage tasks per job. Inside of the job, there are going to be many tasks that are going to be assigned to different persons on the team, right? So this is what you're going to look at. You can see who is assigned. If there's nobody assigned, you can assign somebody to it, and this is where you can complete your tasks as well. So there's many ways to do one thing in TaxDome, but have you found something that works for you in a better way, Leonard?
No, I usually use the pipeline view because then that tells me that I can easily scroll down and go, oh yeah, I need to work on that one. And I have mine set so the one that was in there first is at the top.
Right.
I like to work off of a first in, first out
Right,
mentality.
exactly. And by
So
by clicking on edit and settings, this is what he's talking about, right? He's talking about, getting the newest one on top or the oldest one on top, right?
yeah, I always have the oldest one there so that when I'm looking at it, I can go in and cherry pick if I want.
That's right.
But but mostly I have it so that the one that's been in the stage the longest, because it might remind me then that, oh, I have to follow up with that person because I'm still waiting for information or those kinds of things. And then that way something doesn't get missed or I don't, forget about that person because it's always staring me right at the top.
Right. Absolutely. That's a great tip there. And again, just to demo this for everybody, if you click on settings, this is a sort feature. If you want to track, how many days it's been on that stage, you can toggle on this information here. When you click on save, let's go back to the pipeline view. And well, look at this client has been here for 5 months. Oh my gosh, I need to take care of this client. How could it be that they've been there for 5 months, right? So it will tell you 3 days, 1 day, months, years, right? If you haven't really moved that client. In this case, this is a month that it's been here. So that way you can find priority, right? Because remember, the priorities can be changed at any time in here. And if this becomes urgent, I could just save it as urgent and I can see this because it's been here for 5 months. That's
Yeah.
crazy, right? We need to take care of certain clients with more urgency. Um, what if you have like 500 jobs that are active, right? And you do have a couple that you turned into urgent. Um, One of the best practices that I can offer as well is the filtering. The filter, if you want to do something like Um, I want all my urgents to show up and only those for now. Then only the urgents will show up and I'll work actively on those, right? And once I'm done, you can click on reset because if you don't reset that, you're going to come back to the view and you're going to only see one job when in fact you have 500 jobs that are active, right?
And I also use that when I'm looking for a specific person. Versus, you could easily just go up, search for the client, go
That's
to
right.
the pipelines tab. But I find I like to stay on this page and I actually bookmark this page so I can just come back to it with a quick bookmark instead of having to go through all the prompts on the side. But I use that to find if I'm looking for a specific person. If say somebody calls in and wants an update, I can easily go to see what stage it's at, where it's at, without having to scroll through and try to find them.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. This is probably the best way because, like you mentioned, you can go to the account. If I go to the account, itself, it'll open up a new tab. And yes, you can hyper focus on the workflow tab, and it'll kind of show you the same view, but only for that specific client, right? And
Yeah.
it'll show you all the pipelines they're actually involved in, which is great. But if you're actively working just on one pipeline, um, it's better to stay inside of this view and use the filtering.
Yeah.
Um, I had a client once that had 2,000 active jobs in one pipeline. That was amazing to see. So that in that case, also the filter is quite important to narrow
I've
down.
got 600 and some
Oh,
in one of them because we're just starting our season right now. So
that's right. Yeah, I can't wait to kind of see that if you don't mind sharing that. That's amazing. I love to see, active jobs on a live client's account. Obviously, this is my test account, and you
yeah,
can see this poor client has been here for 5 months. He's probably going to fire me or something, right? But seeing live jobs is something that I want all clients to see, everybody that's watching. So I'm excited to kind of explore that. All right. So you know, aside from this, that we'll keep exploring in a little bit, there's ways to communicate with the team internally, right? Uh, because we don't have yet an active team chat, you notice that you probably see that on mine. We do have that coming up soon. It's in beta testing and it might be out already if you're watching this as a recording, but as a workaround, and if you want to keep documents also in one place, you can create an account. And I'll go here to my accounts. And let's say this test 123 here. I can probably maybe even rename this account and, call it my firm.
mm-hmm.
And this firm here is only for you and your team. So the documents here can be reorganized so that they only are used for you and your team. Maybe you want to have your teammates' names in here, and that's their personal folder where they keep track of, certain documents. And there is communication in here. So the communication, you can have a chat and create a chat here and keep the chat internal to you and the team, right? So for example, let me just create a really quick chat here. I'm pretending like I sent something to the client, but notice that there's this toggle here that says internal. This is where you can actually tag each other um, and have an internal conversation where your client is not going to be able to see that. Obviously, this is a test account. I don't really care if the client sees it or not because this is strictly internal. For now, you can start using this as an internal chat to quickly, get information from each other, have a conversation if you're not maybe in the same office right away. But soon we'll have a team chat here that will make this even easier. But I like this because you can use this to save internal documents and create kind of like um, a variation of internal stuff that only you and your team need to access, right? Nobody really else needs to access this
And if you
but your
do
team.
do it, and if you do it on a specific client, it could be a question specific to that client that you want. If somebody else is bringing in the documents and entering that stuff, and the client has told them something, they can easily add it there so that whoever's working on the file can know that information without having to have it in a separate location, because they're in here. The chat's going to show up that it belongs to that job, and it's easy for them to then just get that information.
Right, exactly. I think this kind of workaround, I call it workaround because everything is based off of accounts. When you have an account, you'll automatically have a folder that's visible, and that's how your team can manage
Mm-hmm.
individual accounts. But this can turn into something a little bit more dynamic, right? That functions for internal use only. So please take advantage of this. You can create as many internal accounts as you wish. Obviously, you don't want to have too many and confuse the team, but having something like this can be something that might be useful to you. All right. So, you know, now that we know how to, communicate internally, have internal documents and, kind of manage clients so they don't fall through the cracks in a pipeline. And let me go back to the pipeline view. Let me open this up. We want to make sure that if you do have a big team, I know right now, Leonard, you have a small team, but eventually you probably want to track some of the productivity in the team. So one of the nice things that we have is time tracking here up at the top, right? And we also have the budgeting, right? If you allow the budgeting here to be, well, this should only take 5 hours from beginning to end, um, you know, and you want to start tracking time, a timer will automatically pop up and you start working on this return. And then if you want to pause this, you can. If you want to finish this, you can. And it'll create a time entry for you in which you can create like a rate in which you can charge your client. But sometimes maybe you only want to know from your team member, whoever it was working on this, how long they spent on this, right? If they work 40 hours a week, how long did they spend on this, and is the time being distributed correctly? So these are additional things that you can use to track productivity for your team, right? This again is useful for bigger teams, but I mean you can also use this for your smaller teams if you want to keep track, for example, of something that you're going to charge your client, because you can charge your client according to time entries. This is something called work in progress, and this is in the billing section. So if you have 5 time entries, you can just bill your client from there. For example, on a, maybe bookkeeping example, that you work certain hours on a bookkeeping service, that's where I kind of would suggest it. But let me know, Leonard, have you used the time entries before, or have you gotten
I
familiar?
don't know by time. I bill by the job. We're a flat
Flat
price,
rate? Gotcha.
flat rate firm. So I haven't. I still have people keep track of the time, but not. We don't use it for
Not for
billing
billing.
purposes. We use it to make sure that we are, that people are working, which is mostly myself and the one other employee at the moment, are working efficiently, but not for billing purposes.
Right, exactly. For smaller teams, I think it might not be as utilized, but it's nice that you have these features here
Oh,
for when
absolutely.
your team grows, right? Which hopefully that your team does grow, because in that case, when we go to our reporting section and we go to our dashboards, there's some pre-made reports on here. Our AI can generate reports, obviously, but some of these dashboards that are pre-made by TaxDome help you out in reviewing that time utilization. How long did my team members spend on certain jobs, right? I might not have a lot of data on here for you. Usually this data after, I don't know, 3 to 6 months, you'll have a lot of data here for the system to report. And a lot of you that are starting out with TaxDome probably won't have too much data on here, but after a couple of weeks or months, you will have this populated so you can see, you know, the time utilization, how long, your team members have been working on something, how, let's give you a little bit more. The capacity, the capacity planning, it's nice because again, if you're allotting a certain amount of hours and you're working on, you know, certain amount of jobs, we don't want to overwork our team members, right? Or even overwork yourself. And you can start keeping track of that. I think it is ideal when you start getting more team members in here. But generally, the reporting feature is really great to do that. Not only for that kind of tracking, but for revenue, right? If you want to start understanding, what was my revenue last month, according to tags, maybe that's something that you can create utilizing the reporting and utilizing the AI feature as well. All right, so let me pause here. Okay, I'm going to pause here for a second, and I'm going to go to do some Q&A.